In this new, flexible world of work, we're all looking for ways to work better, smarter, and faster. With SAP Concur Solutions, you can automate your travel, expenses, and invoices into one connected workflow for an easy way to manage company costs. See every penny of spending, even before it's spent, and keep the process moving with handy apps, so your team can work from anywhere. Move your business forward with SAP Concur Solutions. Visit concur.com to learn more.
It's Saturday the 26th of August. I'm Ciara Revens, and this was a week that saw Lucy Letby sentenced to life, Vladimir Putin take his revenge, Donald Trump in jail in Georgia, and India touched down on the moon.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
This week saw the sentencing in a case that captivated the attention of the whole nation. It was the trial of former nurse Lucy Letby, who was convicted of murdering 7 babies and trying to kill another 6 while she was working at the Countess of Chester Hospital between June 2015 and June 2016. It made her the most prolific child serial killer in modern British history, and the government announced an independent inquiry into the circumstances surrounding the deaths. Medical negligence solicitor Anne Alexander explained why that's important for the case.
What the inquiry has to do is to look at how did she get away with it for so long, and why, for example, there were 3 deaths. A group of consultants then made a complaint and said there needs to be investigation. Why did that not happen? And going forward to make sure that something like this cannot be allowed to happen again.
The inquiry will see police review the care of more than 4,000 babies in hospitals where Letby worked. Lindsay Atel, who suspects her newborn son was harmed by Letby after she made a complaint about her, says it's important that all families get answers.
A guilty verdict is brilliant for the people who have got some sort of justice. It doesn't bring anyone back, but it leaves many people who haven't had any answers. So that needs to be looked into. There's many probably like me. They've got every right for them to be looked into. And if it doesn't come out and they weren't involved, then great.
And it's not just families who think more could have been done to prevent the killings. Consultant paediatrician Dr. Ravi Jararam first raised concerns about Letby to hospital bosses back in 2016. He explains how Countess of Chester CEO Tony Chambers reacted to his complaint.
And then read out a letter from her, basically saying, I'm coming back to work and you have to work with me, and I'm going to prove to you that I'm a great nurse and I'm not a killer like you say. And then Tony Chambers finished off by saying, I'm drawing a line under this, and if you cross that line, there will be consequences for you. Monday
saw Letby given a whole life sentence, which means the former nurse will never be released from prison, as the judge described her deep malevolence bordering on sadism. The 33-year-old is one of 3 women alive to have been given such a jail term in the UK.
There was premeditation, calculation and cunning in your actions. The great majority of your victims suffered acute pain as a result of what you did to them. They all fought for survival. Some, sadly, struggled in vain and died.
Letby refused to appear in court for the sentencing, which has led to debate on whether offenders should be forced to appear for such events. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said it's disgraceful.
I think it's cowardly that people who commit such horrendous crimes do not face their victims, and we are looking at changing the law to make sure that that happens, and that's something that we'll bring forward in due course.
This week saw Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on a mini-European tour as he travelled to various European capitals in search of more support in the war with Russia. His visit to Sweden yielded new pledges of armoured vehicles and more training for his troops. But it was his visit to Denmark that really paid off. He finally secured the long-sought-after F-16 fighter jets that could make a real difference to the ongoing efforts to clear Russian troops from Ukrainian soil. The Danish and Dutch Prime Ministers have jointly pledged to deliver 61 F-16s. He also warned that if Russia's invasion is successful, other parts of Europe would be at risk from the Kremlin's military aggression.
All of Russia's neighbours are under threat if Ukraine does not prevail. Democracies of the world, each of them can become a target.
This week also saw the BRICS meet in South Africa. That's the Southern Hemisphere version of the G7, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, and its combined GDP rivals that of the Northern Hemisphere's G7. They've invited 6 additional countries to join, including Saudi Arabia, but Russia's war on Ukraine continues to cause tension in the alliance, and Ukrainian MP Kira Ruddock says they'd like to see more support from the member countries of the group.
Ideally, we would want BRICS countries to start sending us weapons and to support us, but we also understand that this is unlikely, and so the minimum plan would be to have them involved and at least do not help or support Putin.
Wednesday afternoon brought a dramatic twist in the Russia-Ukraine saga as footage emerged of a private plane crashing into the ground outside the Russian city of Tver. The plane contained the head of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, along with his deputy, and it appeared that none of the passengers had survived. Sky News defence analyst Sean Bell couldn't believe that Prigozhin had put himself in harm's way.
The only question in my mind is why he didn't see this coming. He seemed to be still remaining in circulation, and yet what it appears now very clearly that his card was marked, his days were numbered, and it's no great surprise that he's met an untimely end.
Thursday saw confirmation that the man behind the mini coup had died in the crash, with US intelligence suspecting that the catastrophic crash was caused by an explosive device on board. Russian President Vladimir Putin paid tribute in a half-hearted way to the man who was once his chef and later his rival.
He had a difficult fate. He made serious mistakes in his life. But he achieved the necessary results both for himself and when I asked him to do so for the common goal, as happened in recent months.
Despite efforts by some Russian media sources to blame the Ukrainians for the assassination, President Zelensky said it's clear who was behind the killing.
First of all, we don't have any connection to this situation, that's for sure. I think everyone understands who is involved.
Donald Trump was back in the legal spotlight this week as the clock counted down for he and his indicted co-conspirators to hand themselves in at Fulton County Jail in Georgia. Trump is facing racketeering and conspiracy charges over his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in the state. Wednesday night saw the first Republican primary debate, which Donald missed out on, but he remains 40 points ahead of his nearest rival. One of Trump's 18 co-defendants who turned himself in for mugshots and fingerprints was former New York Mayor and Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani. He said it's a dark day for America.
Whether you dislike or you like Donald Trump, let me give you a warning. It's going to come for you. When the political winds shift, let us pray that Republicans are more honest and more American than these people in charge of this government.
Former President Trump finally turned a plate on Thursday evening, had a mugshot taken and was released on a $200,000 bail. He described the whole event as a travesty of justice and took to X/Twitter to post his mugshot. It came after his interview with Tucker Carlson on the platform where he ranted about Joe Biden, the Justice Department and his many indictments.
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick. You have great people in the Democrat Party. You have great people that are Democrats. Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just Republicans or conservatives. I represent everybody. I'm the president of everybody.
Technically, he's not the president of anybody, and 2024 Republican presidential candidate Ryan Binkley, who's polling 1%, says a growing voter base is moving away from Trump.
Right now, about half of the party, the Republican Party, is kind of stuck with Trump right now. They're kind of staying with him. And about half, and I would say a growing majority, is starting to leaning towards another candidate.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
One small step for India, one giant leap for mankind. In what will go down as a historic moment, India's Chandrayaan-3 has become the first space mission to land near the south pole of the moon. It's third time lucky for India and comes just days after a Russian attempt ended in a crash. We've always heard about the dark side of the moon, but this will be the first time it might actually be explored. The scientists believe frozen water could be trapped in the craters there. If all goes to plan, the six-wheel Pragyan rover hidden inside the lander will roam the lunar surface, gathering images and data. India's PM Narendra Modi said this signals the dawn of a new India.
This success belongs to all of humanity, and it will help moon missions by other countries in the future.
So to come on the Standout 7, a new dawn for fertility in the UK and Edinburgh's best joke.
Right after this. Welcome back. 3,
There was good news on Wednesday as a new frontier opened up fertility treatments. It's been hailed as the dawn of a new era as surgeons in Oxford announced they had successfully carried out the first womb transplant in the UK. The recipient's sister, who already has children, donated her womb to her younger sibling who was born without a uterus. It's now been 6 months and Professor Richard Smith, who was part of the team of surgeons, gave an update on the recipient's condition. He said an embryo transplant is on the horizon.
So she's doing really, really well. She has started having menstrual periods, and that means her prospects of having a baby are very high, and we hope to be doing an embryo transfer in the autumn.
Meanwhile, transplant surgeon Isabel Quiroga says the hopes for a wider rollout are high.
We're hoping we will give the opportunity to many of the women in the UK that have a similar problem. I believe we have a duty to help them because we know it works.
And Chief Executive at the Fertility Network UK, Catherine Hill, says the breakthrough is a game changer.
For fertility medicine, it's the dawn of a new era. It's going to give so much hope to those women. And it's really significant because up to now they've had very, very limited options.
Love comes in unexpected ways for Love Island US. The hit Brit dating show has blown up across the pond, where it's hosted by former Modern Family star Sarah Hyland, but now they've taken it a step further. The US version of Love Island has just seen a same-sex relationship blossom. ITV had previously said that a queer Love Island would be too logistically difficult, but it seems love has found a way in the USA.
I kept looking at you, I kept wanting to talk to you, and so I was like, I'm low-key down. Not low-key, I am down. So.
Yeah. I like people that bring out a fun side in me. Yeah. And I feel fun when I'm with you. I feel comfortable when I'm with you. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, those aren't like things that you find in people very often where you're like, you get to be somebody else when you're with them.
Yeah.
The Edinburgh Fringe Festival has just wrapped up, which means it's time for the Funniest Joke Award. It's an annual competition sponsored by TV channel Dave, and here's this year's winning gag.
I used to date a zookeeper, but it turned out he was a cheater.
Sounds more like a dad joke than a Dave joke. Our favourite joke came from one of the runners-up, South London comedian Siska, who says, when women gossip, we get called bitchy. When men do it, it's called a podcast. The originator of the winning joke, Lorna Rose Treen, told BBC Breakfast she was as surprised as anyone.
It's such a silly joke, and I think every year a real like Christmas cracker style joke wins. So it's just such a privilege.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world.